We are ready when you tell me you are ready. So, nani yako ready ashaanza ku... Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our session today as we celebrate once again a session that we continue to encourage new leaders in Rotary through Rotaract and through Interact. Our session today on Rotary Youth Leadership Awards is set on leadership, and we're excited for that session. As we start, I'll invite Mercy to take us through the 4-way test.
Of the things you think, say, or do, is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill? Is it fair to all concerned? Is it beneficial to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. I invite Kate to take us through the Rotary Grace.
Oh God, and give our food. We thank Thee for our daily food. May Rotary friends and Rotary ways help us serve Thee all our days.
Thank you. At this point, I'll invite our RYLA chair, June, to take us through a recap of what we've done in the last 3 days, starting from Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaia. As you have heard, my name is June Wambui. I am the RYLA 2020 chair, and I'm here to give us a recap of what happened from Wednesday 25th to yesterday, Friday 27th. Okay, so day one we had Natalia Polishuk. She is the founder and CEO of Just Work, a HR franchise that acts as a matchmaker for employees and employers. So Natalia taught us on the future of work while emphasizing on jobs that shall become redundant in the near future, jobs that shall thrive, that is virtual web design, robot manufacturing, e-sport, entertainment, and elderly care. She gave us insights on jobs for online labor market, that is virtual assistant jobs, virtual sales, web design, graphic design, social media managers, and home tutoring, among many more. She trained us on LinkedIn most needed skills in this year and in the years to come, and really emphasized that we should not ignore our LinkedIn accounts because employers are shifting from the traditional approach of sourcing their human resource. Many of us did not know this, by the way, but we need to build networks on our LinkedIn, and we found out that it is quite important, even as we discussed in our breakout sessions. I think what I took from that session was we are not our degree, we are a set of competencies that we invest in every stage of our lives. Okay, day two, we had Rotarian Dolly Sagwe from the Rotary Club of Mozaiga. Dolly is a financial literacy coach. She took us through a talk titled My Money Journey that she translated to how we relate to money from childhood to adulthood. We got to identify the lessons COVID has taught us concerning our money management. We had an interactive session that saw us determining how we use money in our 20s and 30s, 40s and 50s, 60s and 80s if we make it that far. We learned about the cycle of codependency at every stage and got a feel of the reality of it all. Dolly took us through the stages of life and financial planning, which were learning, building, leveraging, and aging, the responsibilities of every stage, and the expected outcomes. She gave us tips on how to effectively plan our finances, which surprisingly starts small. We need to reflect on our current choices and picture the life we want ahead of us in order to make the right decisions now. The session flowed well past 9 p.m., but we were so engaged we didn't even notice time fly. Such an eye-opening presentation that was. Day 3, we had Natalia Wanjiru Kabiru, founder and CEO of Hisia Psychology Consultants. Miss Nancy took us through the parent wound, tying it to how we exhibit those hurt feelings when in relationships with our workmates, friends, and significant others. She taught us how to identify the wounds inflicted on us by our mothers and fathers. We discussed the psychological impact of their actions. We recognized trauma response behavior within ourselves and in the relationships we are now forming. it was a relief to know that our behavior now was influenced by how we were treated growing up, and that we are not broken. And even if we are, we can use therapy as a tool to heal and build healthy relationships. RYLA Virtual has been such a transformational experience for us. When you cut out all the noise, there is a lot to learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you, June, for that. Friends and family of Rotary, good afternoon. My name is Charles Rukwaro, Rotaractor from the Rotaract Club of Nairobi East. My classification is Financial Services, and I'm also serving as Rotaract Kenya Country Chair for this year. So my topic today is generally to give a small discussion or a small talk on leadership in Rotaract. And I think that amongst the reasons that people join Rotaract for is number one, you join for either professional development or to actively take part in community service, or as they want to call it in Nairobi, sherehe. So those are the three reasons that most people want to join Rotaract for. But I think it is clear that even from the goals of Rotaract, the number one objective is to develop professional and leadership skills. So in terms of facts and figures for our district, I think we have about 3,000 Rotaractors spread up amongst 111 clubs, which brings to an average of about 30 Rotaractors per club. Then if you look at the number of leadership positions in a club, it's around 10 going towards 12, which means that doing the math, about 66% of Rotaractors are not actively engaged in leadership at their clubs. Now, this figure might change. It might be more, considering that there are some clubs that have people taking over roles, 2 roles at a time, due to the number of people in the club being few. But then you also have other avenues of leadership in Rotaract. You can have guys present in organizing various functions at the district or country level. These functions include RYLA, the Rotary Day at the UN. There's also DCA. There's also Sunshine Rally, which have Rotaractors who might not be engaged at club level, forming part of those committees. There's also mentorship programs being run between Rotaract clubs and their mother clubs. I think an example is the Rotary Club of Nairobi East, as well as the Rotary Club of Nairobi, who have very successful mentorship programs. We also have collaboration on project implementation between Rotaract clubs and their mother clubs. I think this has been done in quite a number of Rotary clubs. But I think we still can do better. There's still room for improvement. There's a few challenges that we have faced over the years. And amongst the areas of improvement, I think number one is that we have a really low transition rate between institution-based Rotaractors going towards community-based clubs, which now brings the whole idea of continuity. I mean, guys have had so much Rotaract experience at institution level, but they are not able to carry that along to their community-based clubs. There's also a general lack of engagement with Rotaractors at club level, and this is probably due to the structures in Rotaract clubs that do not allow for proper engagement of their members. There's also a lack of awareness of programs. This is particularly for new members. You'd find that you're bombarded with so much information as a new member that you aren't really sure where exactly you fit in. And then again, I think this is also due to structures in the clubs. We also have a lack of continuity for programs that are started by Rotary and Rotaract clubs. You find that probably this year, the Rotary Club decided to do a mentorship program with their Rotaract club, but it does not get that continuity because the next president does not give it the same priority that this current leadership would give it. And then, of course, there is a lack of involvement of Rotaractors at committee level. Ideally, we say that all Rotaractors should be in committees, but in most cases, this does not happen, either because Rotaractors themselves are not aware of the roles that they play at committee level, or because the directors that are heading those committees aren't willing to delegate. So that is also another problem that we face. So I think in conclusion, we need to ask a few questions, and I think that's going to form the basis of this talk. Number one, in conclusion, are we doing enough as Rotaractors to extract the maximum benefits from Rotary and Rotaract? In what ways can we ensure that Rotaractors are attaining skills that make them employable and capable of running their own enterprises? Are there opportunities for further collaboration between Rotary and Rotaract on leadership development? And then finally, what strategies can we adopt to ensure that Rotaractors maximize on the vast experience of Rotarians in their fields? Yeah, I guess those are questions to ponder upon. That's it. Thank you so much. Over to George. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. I think it's an important conversation that we're having, and it sets the stage for a very interesting engagement with a few Rotaractors and Rotarians joining us this afternoon for a panel discussion on what the Rotaractor thinks or expects to gain in Rotaract. And so, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our panelists. Please join us at the front. I think I'll mention your name as you join us. Have you all been, let me see, 1 mic, 2 mic, 3 mic, 4 mic. Elvis, you're good? Yes, please join us at the front. You may sit wherever. There is really no, no need to stand on circumstance or anything. Please join us. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce you, but I think I'm going to skip right ahead of that and have you guys introduce yourselves. And you're going to introduce yourselves, well, it's a chance to jump right into it. But first, let me talk about what the panel is about. It's about me, the Rotaractor, asking, what am I gaining here? I feel like everyone has something they're doing here, but what am I gaining here as a person? And so, thanks a lot for accepting our request or our invite to participate, because what we want to do is examine the relationship between the Rotaractor and Rotaract, and the Rotarian and Rotary, because there are Rotarians here who weren't Rotaractors, but they would also have a good opportunity to look in from outside on what Rotaractors experience in Rotaract. In keeping with this mindset shift that we're trying to create, we'd like you to demonstrate what you've seen of others do or what you've done yourself in relation to getting engaged and gaining from being a Rotaractor. And so, jumping right into it, I'm going to ask our very first panelist, Rotaractor Karen Rono. Why did you join Rotaract, Charter President?
Thank you very much. I think it's quite a pertinent discussion that we are having. And just to answer the question directly, initially when I joined Rotaract, I was in an institution-based club, which was Rotary Club of Catholic University. So the idea was to get a club in school, sort of to develop myself holistically beyond the books. When I got to meet my people and when I got to actually join the club, I realized that at the core of Rotaract was service above self. And that was something that continuously appealed to me. And just like that, I joined the club, and 4 years later, I'm here. But throughout the seasons, I've had so much fun. I've traveled, I've developed as a person and as a professional, and I'm truly, truly grateful to Rotaract and Rotary as a whole for that. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. She didn't mention, she is the Charter President of the Rotaract Club of Hurlingham. And her story with Rotaract is much better than mine. I joined Rotaract because I liked a girl.
Wow.
Moving on, I'd like to ask District Secretary Tito Tadeo, why did you accept our invite to join this panel?
All right, thank you very much, George. And I accepted to join this panel for a number of reasons. One of them is I thought there was lunch, so that's why I came back. No, on a more serious note,
We are all just coping.
On a more serious note, there are three key reasons why I expect to be on this panel. And one of them traces back to when I was in the team that was doing the district strategy. And that is, like, I think almost a year back. And there was one slide that you were looking at when you were developing it. And the slide was saying, now that we're having the situation with the numbers in Rotary, 1.2 million without changing. And then now that we are, Africa, we have kicked out polio. Question starts coming up. What new stories do we need to start giving? Where are the next crop of leaders in Rotary going to come from? And down the line, the Rotaract question now start coming in. You know, how well are we going to start having Rotaractors being nurtured so that they can take on, because the Rotaractors are the future of Rotary, technically. While we have very many Rotarians joining in without having come from Rotaractors, the Rotaract movement, we have a very nice crop of Rotaractors that we can actually, transition and become the guys who are steering Rotary. Number two, I know we've heard the DG severally talk about that one of them, his main vision, and the structures he's putting in place is to make sure that we have a DG who is 40 years with a full-time job and a full family. The question comes in, at what point do we start nurturing that person so that they can become that DG? And I think we started at the Rotaractor level, building that leadership capacity, building those skills. This is the right time to start building, doing all that. And that's one of the really big reasons why I'm here. But the other reason, I know probably we'll have it in the discussion, is I also decided to join this panel to come and start challenging Rotaractors, because Rokarok mentioned it very well in terms of what can I do, or what can my club do for me. I have come to also now start asking the question, with all the elevation that Rotaractors have been given by Rotary International, what are you doing to grab those opportunities and start doing a lot more? You know, now Rotaractors are supposed to be able to apply for grants just as Rotary clubs do. How many of you are able to sit down and start doing that? How many of you are starting to look into those skills, the learning resources, learning set and everything, to know how well to run grants? So that's another challenge I wanted to pose in my coming here day.
Thank you. And I'm just going to use that to jump into my next panelist and introduction and question, because District Trainer Dixon, you are, as a Rotarian, a techie and a strategist, picking up from where he left off about all these opportunities being created for Rotaractors. What, in your opinion, is a Rotaractor's biggest opportunity from your outside looking in?
Thank you, George. I think the opportunity for Rotaractors is number one. You have energy. Rotaractors have energy. They may have some time. They have closer bonds, so you can be able to grow. There's an opportunity of being able to recruit into the Rotary family and the Rotaract family. And the second opportunity that you should not squander is that you have bigger reach, and you can be able to help us maximize the impact of Rotary down level into the communities that we're serving. So I see a great opportunity in that. If you look at Rotary in action, we are action people, and Rotaract is the right vehicle to be able to help us maximize our impact into the community. Yeah.
Thank you. That being said, I'd still like to dig further into that, and ask about it from the perspective of a Rotaractor trying to gain from Rotaract. What do you think they miss that they could be able to do to gain more personally in being Rotaractors in service?
I think looking back, I was never a Rotaractor myself, but I see Rotaract as a platform for mentorship, a platform for exposure, where you can be guided and mentored by well-wishing people, you know, who are able to show you this is a way professionally, and also how to be a better person, because we all aspire to be better people, better humans. So by being a Rotaractor, you're in a pipeline of growth, of exposure, to being the best you can be, both professionally and also in the community and as an individual, to be a full, well-rounded person. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask my next guest to introduce themselves, also picking up from where you've left off about the exposure that we could gain, the experiences we could gain, the people we could meet, and who could help us and mentor us. Past DRR, and now Rotarian, immediate past president of the Rotary Club of Madaraka, Rotarian Njoki Maingi. Why did you become a Rotarian?
Okay. My experience in Rotaract dates back to 2011. But previously I had a brief stint in Interact. So the journey has come, the chickens have come home to roost.
Full circle. That is full circle.
Full circle.
Yes.
I've gotten quite a number of opportunities through Rotary. And I was a past DRR. I am a past DRR. I was a pioneer DRR for this district, the first one.
Indeed.
So it was just a matter of, what can I say? Big fish in a small bowl.
Small pond, yeah.
After being a DRR of a district, where else do you go other than join Rotary? But I was encouraged by the objects of Rotary, the fifth one being eventual transition from Rotaract to Rotary. So based on all the experiences and all the opportunities that I had benefited personally from Rotary, it was just a matter of stepping on the other side of the line to also give back. Yeah. And I found that there's no better place than Rotary. Yeah.
That's a great experience to have and a good reason to join. And the question I have to follow up to that is, you eventually became a big fish in a small pond.
Yes.
But it's the exception rather than the norm, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is.
What would make an average Rotaractor want to join Rotary?
Okay. Charles was here before. He said that most Rotaractors join for sherehe.
Yeah.
It is true. It is true. George signed up for... I have no idea what that was, but...
I'm here now. Please, let us stick to the panelists.
It's a case of growth. It's a case of growth. If you have, in my opinion, if you have developed professionally, you have also given back to the community. It's now time to take it to the next level. Yes, Rotaract is fun. There's a lot of fun. There's nice projects. You do your best at that time, but then you need to go to Rotary to take it to the next level. I'm very happy that Rotary has now encouraged Rotaractors to also apply for grants. When we were joining, it was not the case. But I remember when I was, I think, country chair, there is a club, Rotaract Club of USIU, which actually did a global grant. And they did it with the help of their mother club, that is Rotary Nairobi, I think.
Wow.
But at that time, I remember being so impressed and wishing that more Rotaractors were able to do such projects. And right now, it has come to pass. So I think it's just a matter of maybe growth, seeing that you can take it to the next stage. It is mine was it's exception. Many people do not transition. Even fewer DRRs, unfortunately, also do not transition. But I would think that we need leaders starting from the front. If you're president as a Rotaract Club member, transitions, even you will be encouraged to transition. Yes.
Thank you. My final panelist, immediate past president Elvis of the Rotaract Club of University of Nairobi. TBM indeed. I'm curious because, she just mentioned how there are all the dynamics and all the levels and all the people within Rotaract. You, having been president of one of the largest clubs in the district, what challenges did you experience, or did you foresee, or did you not foresee in your club's leadership and professional development? In fact, let's just stick with professional development.
Wow, that's a very good one, George. I think when it comes to the university life in an institution-based club, you have a very short period, a very short, narrow period where there's a lot that needs to happen. You have your first years and second years who have come to the big city, who are discovering the university, they're discovering Nairobi, and the university is smack in the middle. And they have no idea what their careers will look like, what their path looks like. You have those in the middle of their university life who are now deciding, this is the path I could take, this is what I need to do. And you have a third crop of people who are just about to finish their university, then their fourth year, or if it's a 6-year course, the 6th year, and they're planning to transition to the workplace. And you have to meet all their professional needs at the same time. And you have this in a space where the average Rotaractor in an institution-based club is there for 2-3 years. So that's a lot of development that needs to happen. I would say I had foreseen the gap, but then the diversity of it, how the need that you have for these students. But I'm glad that it's one of those things that we can develop. With our mother club, we were able to come up with very good ways to meet at least more than half of these people's needs, the first years, and getting them mentorship. So you get senior students mentoring junior ones, and we call that Rotated. You get professionals coming in to mentor the guys who are just about to get to the workplace. And that was, to me, one of the most interesting things about professional development in the university setting.
That is an interesting one, because the field is very wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just to make it more difficult, I'd like to ask a charter president, why the questions I'm going to ask now, because you've already introduced yourselves, the questions I'm asking now are from Rotaractors. I've had conversations with a few during the last week, and so the first one I'd like to ask you, picking up from that, is somebody asks, I feel like the club I'm in does not benefit me professionally. What should I do?
Well, just to sort of pick up from where he's left, I have the advantage of both having been in an institution-based club and being sort of starting our very own community-based club. And just to follow on that conversation, I remember being in an institution-based club, it was so easy in terms of professional growth. Why? The immediate mother club had the responsibility. They felt obligated to come and sort of help us. I remember past district governor Jeff Bamford literally coming to talk to us about how to write a CV, and even volunteering to edit our CVs. It was that intense. When you go into now community-based club, the responsibility and the onus falls upon you for professional development. Well, you have the structures in place, but at the end of the day, if you do not make the personal effort, then it does not amount to anything. So now onto your question, if, for example, a person is in a club and they do not feel as if they're not experiencing any type of growth, I'd first ask a few questions. Are you in a committee? Is that committee relevant to your professional goals? If it's not a professional goal that you're trying to fulfill, is it a skill that you're trying to earn within that committee? So after you've followed up from that, the next thing would be, okay, you've gone now to the district level. Is there any particular committee that you're serving on the district level? I can attest, for example, even before I became a charter president, I was already serving on the timeline. And you see, the idea here is you need to be the one to make the effort. I remember someone saying this, and I totally agree with it. If you're not visible, you're unavailable. If Tito cannot see me sitting on this panel, then he can't know that there's someone somewhere called Karen Rono. And that's the idea. You need to participate. And if you think that club is not suiting you, that culture, there's something called transferring to a different club. Look for a club that suits your culture. Look for a club that has projects or professional development that is in line with whatever you're seeking. Because at the end of the day, when Joki talks about next level, this is beyond the normal objectives and the principal fundamental ones. When you move now to the next level, it's about you. You need to think about yourself. And we are all young professionals. If I do not develop myself right now, when is the time? Yes, that's all I have.
Thank you.
It's a struggle, the mask.
Yeah.
Corona, yes.
The virus is a bit more of a struggle. Just if I look at what you've said and your experience with Rotaract Catholic University, that was, and with Rotary Karen, I want to ask a Rotarian this question because it seems like a really good one, and perhaps Dixon, you could help me out with this. A Rotaractor asks, I don't think Rotarians see me as employable. I've met and spoken with many, asked for opportunities. I've gotten no replies to my emails, unanswered calls. Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with them? Or is it the system? It's a fair question.
No, the system is not rigged against Rotaract. That's number one. I think the issue is, I can attribute it at a personal level, at an individual level. How do you speak of yourself and how do you position yourself? Number one, I'm normally very, in my personal perspective, I'm very receptive to people who are willing to serve. Yes. When you come and take a back seat, a passenger seat, you're not even willing to move the table or to help carry a speaker or something, then it becomes tricky, you know. If you come and you're willing to serve, then that is a good opportunity to actually display what is it that you can do. What I always tell people is you're a walking CV. You don't need a paper CV first. You're a walking CV. Yeah, so let your deeds, let the way you carry yourself, let your service be your CV. Because for those who serve, I'm sure you've also seen that, whether Rotarian or Rotaractor, for those who serve and are willing to serve Rotary and Rotaract and the projects and the causes that we're involved in, definitely they do get the opportunities they need. So first is at an individual level, what are you doing? What are you doing for Rotary? What are you doing for your Rotaract? If you're not willing to serve in your club's activities, if you've taken a backseat in your club's activities, then it becomes very difficult then to get. First to give, then expect to receive. That should be the attitude that we should have.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, probably just to add on to that. You know, most contractors, when they're looking for a job, I tend to feel that they assume that they want to come and learn the ropes and get to get in the system. But you forget when someone is giving you a job, you know, it's in the market. So it's about profitability, it's about competition, it's about, you know, how well you're performing out here. So you would want to get someone who will actually come in and add value, not someone you'll come in and start now struggling in terms of how to show them the ropes and how to do those things. And you can imagine if I'm hiring someone to come and manage a project for me, and I have to take them through everything, and I have all these other stuff who are in. But look at it this way, as Dixon is saying, imagine someone has always been involved in projects, Rotaract projects. They're always in the field, they're always doing the community assessments, they're always now running and handling the community dynamics. Someone like that, when they come to my farm, it's a natural fit, you know. So also Rotaractors start seeing, as Dixon is saying, how well you work on yourself and make sure that guys can see this guy is very good in this kind of a skill, and when I get them in, I just come in. And because out here, you know, it's a competitive market. Yeah.
It's a jungle out there.
Okay.
Yes, please.
As the other Rotarian in the panel, not to be left behind. I'll give you a personal example. In 2012? Yeah, 2012. I had lost my job. I was just abruptly retrenched, so I was jobless. And I heard that the district governor-elect at that time was looking for a personal assistant. So I sent my CV to, just like, I'm assuming just the way someone would. And what I hadn't factored in was that district governor was extremely busy. So after that CV, to send it on email was just, yeah, it was more or less nonsense. So I tracked him down. I hunted him and I found him and sat next to him. At that time I was like, you know what, Mr. Hasara. I sat next to him. It was a district conference meeting. Just after the meeting, I don't know whether we even stayed until the end of the meeting or there was some discussions going on. He was just free there. And I told him, I hear you're looking for a personal assistant. I am that person. He looked at me. He's like, where did you hear this from? I was like, yes, I have years. Are you looking for a PA? And he's like, yes. Send me your CV. I have already sent it. So he's like, okay. Give me your name. I was like, yes, this is my name. I told him, give me your number and I'll call you on Monday. He's like, okay, sawa. I think when he went now to his district governor friends, he heard about me. I had organized, I think, 2 DCAs back to back. He heard that I was the person for that position. He did his background homework. I didn't have to call him on that Monday. He called me on Sunday. He told me, I hear you do good things. I feel like we can take this district to the next level. Then at that time I had not been, I hadn't accepted, I think, or I hadn't been nominated for the RRship. So as soon as I told him, now we are going to take this to the next level. We are going to be the Pioneer District Rotaract representative and Pioneer District Governor, and we are going to serve at the same time in the same office to the same district. So are we on board? Then it's like, so let's do this. And here we are. And that district governor was Harry Mungo. So I had quite an experience with him at that time. And it just took the skills that I use right now, analytical skills, technical skills, people skills. During that whole time, we really worked on ourselves. So I think as Rotaractors, you can do that. Don't expect that just because you wear a lapel pin written Rotaract. Rotarians don't have time to train you. They want you to come and say, I am the person for the job. You are looking for somebody, it's me. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that opens up quite a few things, right? Picking up from the last thing you said about Rotarians not having the time to, hold your hand or so and so forth. We do have a goal in Rotaract. I do not know if it is formally set out, but we do hope that we'd be mentored by Rotarians. And the Rotaractor asked about that specifically. They said, I had hoped to find a
the program ended, we were left asking, guys, is this it? There's a new year, we have developed a very good relationship with these guys, and we actually felt that we could actually mentor them and move them. And I think it's something that can actually happen if it is picked up as a district initiative, a district program. But lastly, I come again to my last point when I was introducing myself, initiative from the Rotaractors. You also have to be bold enough to reach out and look at someone who you think can actually be your mentor in terms of career-wise or life-wise, and tell them, can you be my mentor? I have someone who one day in one of the Rotaract functions in Nevasha who came and approached me and told me, I want you to be my mentor. So the discussion now went to what is it that you've seen that you like to gain for me, and it's been a very awesome journey together with him. Actually, I think he's the president of the Rotaract Club of Nairobi now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so you also have to have that initiative on your own as a Rotaractor, yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to add something also. As a Rotaractor, apart from, I think today I'm going to sound like the person who's on individual. So you shall forgive me for that. But I think one of One of the reasons why I have grown is because I've been deliberate about it. The proactivity aspect. When it came to actually when I was in an institution-based club, one of the things I used to do was, I think for most of you who know Rotary Club of Karen then, this is a few years back, you would identify with the age group that was then there. So what I used to do was, I am probably an 18, 19-year-old girl. Let me call myself a girl. And I used to go to Karen Country Club, sit at the back, and then watch them and observe them. This was 1, 2, 3 times. Then I noticed that they have certain tendencies. And from then, that's how I picked up and started having conversations. They used to be very uncomfortable and I used to stumble the first few times. But eventually, I found my niche with certain people. And I realized if I'm around certain people, there are certain conversations we'll gear towards. And these particular conversations are things that are contributing towards my growth. Just like that, I got employed by the DCA committee. I think it was the 93rd initially, and then the 94th. I became the personal assistant to the DCA chair, Janet Mathenge. And through her, I learned so much in terms of, my work used to be, I used to call the Rotarians to convince them to pay for DCA. They look so nice here, but it's a struggle. But the beautiful thing about it is I learned how to negotiate. I learned how to talk to people older than me. I learned how to sit in certain platforms that I think used to intimidate me in the past. And then I got that boldness where, yes, I look like the tiny person in that particular table, but you know what? Even if you want to give me space, I'll pull a chair, sit down, and learn what I have to learn. And that's what we need to do. We need to be very conscious about ourselves when you're doing certain things. We need to have emotional intelligence to know that when DG looks like this, do not approach him. But when he looks like this particular way, please go ask him all the things. You know, that whole list you had, please approach him and ask certain things. And some of these things you learn while you're there. You won't learn through reading a book or anything of the sort. The other thing is also learn to, like you said, learn to be your own branding person. Learn to be your own CV in terms of how you present yourself. Jeff Bezos normally says, branding is all about, is what people talk about when you're not in the room. So if I'm to walk out of this room, and Karen Rono was supposed to come in this particular conversation, what will it be about? That is what branding is about. And as Rotary actors, we need to learn to brand ourselves to a point that by the time someone mentions your name, they're like, yeah, totally, let her run the conversation, let her do this. And lastly, my mentors, most of them are from Rotary. I met them through the DCA committee where I'd served with them. Then after that, once I'd proved to them that I have these particular skills, I went and approached them and was like, can you be my mentor? And of course they would say yes because they know what you're worth. They know the value that you bring to the table. A mentorship type of relationship is two-way. It's never one way. The growth needs to be experienced two-way. And the moment we realize that, I think we'll be better off. Thank you. I feel better now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also that when you're a Rotary, don't feel small.
Yeah.
Don't feel small. Yeah. Don't have a victim kind of mentality or feeling small. You feel yourself equal, number one. Regardless, we understand you are at this point in life where you're a student, or you've just finished university, you don't have an income,
money,
or you have a very little income. But just, we're all humans. Yes, we're all humans. So let that be your starting point. Don't feel like you're inferior. Start from that point. And we understand, and we'll be able to push along. And then the other thing is make yourself visible. Stop sitting at the back of the room. Stop attending Rotary Club meetings, for example, and coming late, you know, or coming and sitting in a corner. Don't find corners. Come and sit at the front. Be at the front. For example, if you come to a club, Rotary Club of Langata, which is the biggest, yeah? It's very easy to be intimidated, but just be bold, just like in church. Walk, sit at the front. Make the bold steps. Be coming early. When you go to a big gathering that you don't know, do your homework. Come early. Be early. So you have opportunities to interact and opportunities to learn the audience and the people that you're meeting. Yeah? And that way, we'll be able to help. And then the other issue is from the district trainer perspective, where I sit now, we have some time to be able to help in an organized way. So if you can organize yourself formally now, then as I always said, I'm a biggest supporter of Rotaract. You know, I'm also a father of a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. So they are potential Rotaractors that should be recruited. So I relate with your journey, and you have a platform. and let's maximize the virtual season that we are in. Yeah, so let's maximize. I'm ready to support in providing that forum. Just get together. Then I look for the people. You tell me you want this, we can get Tito, we can get her, we can get many other people, past DGs and other people even outside the district. Let's start now.
Thank you.
So the homework is back to you.
Yes. I never mentioned this before, but one of my goals in 2018, when I started going to the Rotary Club of Langata, it was huge. That's when we were just starting the Rotary Club of Langata. I had the tendency of only greeting the people I knew. Yes. And so one of the things, you know, the little things you challenge yourself to do, I challenged myself to every time just greet strangers. It was the worst experience of my life, honestly. I hated it. I mean, there's someone I know just that we can just go and sit and chat. But I forced myself to greet so many strangers. But now it's a lot easier, which is interesting. Just to mention. I'm going to take a hard left now. A hard left is the question is to Elvis. I joined Rotaract for the amazing fun. Is that so wrong?
No. Simple answer
Please
is
elaborate.
no. It's a very good reason to join, actually. I think fun is a beautiful thing. We all should have fun, and Rotaract is fun, and we shouldn't despise it for it. I think it's one of those things where you walk into a supermarket and you see buy one, get one free. You walked in, you were coming to get fun at the Rotaract supermarket, and all of a sudden you're getting professional leadership development, you're getting community service. It's a beautiful thing. If you're joining Rotaract for fun, I would say it's good. You're in the right place. You will have fun. But when you're there, you can have fun and still get to develop yourself. You can still get to learn a lot and meet amazing people and do amazing things while still having fun.
I've never thought about it like that. I love free things. Thank you. My next question, therefore, becomes to, I think I'll ask this to ask DRR because, well, for your slightly inside and outside perspective, someone asks, how do I find my space in my club? How do I fit in?
How do you fit in? Okay. Fitting in is a deliberate effort. Even when you're newly employed to a company, you're the newbie, you have to fit in. It's you get in, you find a culture, you acclimate to the culture. At some point, all of us here as members of a Rotary or a Rotaract club, maybe say for Karen, who's a charter president, who are newbies at some point. So you walk into the club, and of course you'll go and find cliques. People have known each other from day one. We have people in Madaraka who knew each other since Rotaract University of Nairobi. And here you are coming there with nothing, just an open mind. So it's just a matter of finding, there are smaller structures in the club's committees. When you say that you want to serve in a certain committee, and we have that in most Rotary clubs, is that even guests, they are put in some certain committees. That's to develop for them the Rotary culture, make friends in Rotary circles, and then also sharpen skills as they are serving in those committees. So yes, I am a Rotarian in Madaraka, and I also feel intimidated when I go to Rotary Club of Langata. Of course. Yeah, so many. So when you go there, I'm assuming like a newbie, you walk in, you join a committee. At least that committee you have met 5 people that you didn't know before. That committee is planning maybe a needs assessment trip to a project that they are doing. That you go and you meet and you go there to that site, you have met 5 people and you have taken them into an informal setup. So that breaks some barriers. Then you become now on a personal level. That way you can engage with the 5, and then you make deliberate steps like what George said. You greet somebody that you didn't know. Someone that last meeting you didn't say hi to. Today you say hi to them. You never know. You could develop professionally. You could develop even personally. You could find your significant others. those could be you, but you chose to join Rotaract.
I could actually add on to that, what she's saying.
Yes, please.
And one of the most beautiful things I like about Rotary is the network. We have so many clubs in Nairobi, in whatever city you're in, that sometimes you can also find a fit by shopping around and finding a place that you're comfortable, that you will fit in. So even as much as you're making deliberate effort, it's a good thing that you have options and you can visit other clubs and see, oh wow, I'm a member of this club, but I feel I could fit in this one, and you can transition, and we allow that, and that's a good thing as well.
Yeah.
Don't be tethered. The key thing is, don't be tethered to your home club. When you become a Rotaract or a Rotarian, you've been given a license to roam and network and do service beyond the limits of your own club. So take advantage of that, monitor different clubs, be systematic, be methodical. Today I'll visit this club, tomorrow I'll visit this club, and participate in the things, and the world just grows.
And something else I'd forgotten also, my club is I think it's still the only club that was formed by Rotaractors. When we were chartering the club, we ruffled a lot of feathers, but it's simply because we could not get a good fit. So we said, I don't want to call them a bunch of misfits because they're watching. Hi guys.
She said that.
But if you feel like you cannot fit, you cannot. There are about 100 and something Rotaract clubs, so you can shop around, look around. Eventually, 111 clubs will take you in. There's someone that you're bound to find a fit.
And you can start your own.
Oh, you can start your own.
Start your own.
Then just to add onto this particular conversation, also be very open-minded. Whatever you're seeking might not necessarily be whatever you're getting. I can attest, when I came into Rotaract, I never thought I'd become a leader. I remember, I think if Billy was here, he'd laugh at me. I remember refusing presidency in Catholic University. I was like, no, I have better things to do. I have school, and then just before I joined law school, when I'm working in a very high-pressure environment, I'm told, we have this group of young individuals, if you'd like to join. And then first day, first meeting, I'm elected as charter president, just like that. Next thing, same time, the timeline. So please be open-minded, because you never know the skills that you possess, but you've not probably put yourself in a platform to reveal them. And Rotary and Rotaract will actually come in handy to do this. So be very open-minded.
Thank you. Our time is done. I have one last question, really. It's what does Rotaract look like outside our district? In fact, for the Kenyans, I'd say outside Kenya, for the Ethiopians outside, basically outside what you're used to, what you know. And this one's open because for people who have traveled around with Rotary for a bit and can see what Rotaract is like elsewhere. Elvis, maybe?
I'd say Rotaract is quite similar but very different. It's the same family. We have similar structures and everything. It's the same wonderful people you meet around everywhere you go. It's the same fun. It's the same structures. We do similar things. But one thing I have come to realize about Rotaract in our district is some districts have, I have visited districts where they're very methodical about what they do with Rotaract. Back then it was still not elevated and we were programmed. So you would find how they run with your mother clubs was very methodical, almost to a science. This is what we do. This is exactly how we engage with one another. I found that there were clubs in other places where they, one of my favorites is Uganda. Maybe it's a different district. Their clubs do quite well, almost Rotary, even before they were elevated. They do grants and all this. So it's the same but different, and you can always learn a lot from other districts.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think in our district, Rotaract is less visible
That is true.
than it ought to be. For example, if you look at in the Rotarian magazine, how many stories do we feature about Rotaract in this district? And I think that's a challenge for us. Let's be visible. Let's be more visible. Even at least we should be submitting articles for the Rotarian magazine.
For the timeline.
At least
The timeline.
the timeline and also the International Rotarian magazine. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
I have traveled a bit and I've seen Rotaract through our district, and there are Rotaract clubs. I find in Ethiopia they're very, it's like a family. Yeah, it's very homely, it's very nice. In Uganda, it's like walking into a Rotary meeting. I'm talking this perspective as I was a Rotaractor, so I'm just remembering all this. But cutting across the same hospitality cuts across every district that I had ever visited as a Rotaractor. It was. I remember one time I went to Zambia and I was picked up just the same way I have been picked up in Uganda by Rotaractors. I have been picked up at the airport from Ethiopia. It's cutting across. That one is standard everywhere.
Awesome.
Yes, on the visibility. When I was DRR, we submitted an article to the Rotarian. Even as president, we submitted an article to the Rotarian. So it can be done. Do not hinder yourself. Say that I'm a Rotaractor, I'm too small, I can't go far. What are these vitu za Rotary? No, you can do it yourself. But yes, back to that question, I think it cuts across.
All right.
Just to also add, I attended RYLA 2018 Uganda, and I remember the numbers were tremendous. Then I remember I attended RYLA 2017 Kenya, we were about 101. Then RYLA Uganda, there were 600. And for a minute, I could not believe it because I didn't understand. And in closer investigation, what I noticed is they're very ambitious on a club level. Not individual, club level. So they rally the numbers on the club level as they add up. And I know right now they might be splitting into 2 separate districts in one country. And that, of course, speaks into the initiatives that they have.
Yeah.
And apart from that, wanapenda sherehe. So it's very lucrative.
For the Ethiopians and South Sudanese, they are very serious. No, they like to
love-
party.
exactly.
They love to party. All right, thank you.
Just one thing.
Yes.
I see that relating to the theme of this RYLA, embracing the chaos. I think we should not squander the opportunity that the chaos is providing. The chaos is shaking traditions. The COVID aspect is shaking long-held traditions and norms, including in Rotary. For example, the ability to meet virtually. Yeah, that those opportunities that have come as a result of the chaos should not be squandered. Yes. So that is a challenge to you guys. Take advantage of the disruption of the chaos, because every chaos has a silver line, and there's an opportunity. The opportunity is there that you can maximize on.
All right. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for participating and for being here with us and for listening in. If I've picked anything, it is embrace the chaos, make yourself visible, be intentional, and most definitely treat yourself as an equal. You're a human first. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I completely forgot to invite my Madam RYLA Chair, June. Yeah, I'm gone now. Bye.
Thank you, George, that you did not completely forget. That was such an informative and thought-provoking session. I could not believe it from where I was sitting there. But, wow, that's a lot to digest, guys. So, I'd like to take questions from the audience, and I'd like to invite Mercy. Questions? Yes. Just come.
So I have 3 questions. One is for Sarah. So Sarah, since you left, we've had 8 more DRRs, and we've only had 1 female. So what do you think we can do to encourage the females to actually stand up and take up the mantle? The second one is for Karen. So we saw many Rotaractors in the district, but only very few transition to Rotary. What do you think is the biggest issue? And then for Tito,
I am soon joining Rotary Club of Syokimau, and I'm being mandated to charter the Rotary Club of Syokimau. So I wanted to ask you to tell us, or tell me, and anybody else who wants to grow the Rotary family from that perspective, one most important thing to note as they start. As you notice, the one thing I should tell the guys who want to join the Rotary Club, and how should I actually entice them to join Rotary? That's it.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I really dismantled myself. Now, it is. Allow me to have this conversation a bit candidly. Yeah? It is something that really, it's saddening. It's very saddening that we have had a district of about almost 9 years now, and only 2 years. On a personal experience, I was DRR as at the same time I was doing my master's, and let me tell you, it was something that was out of this world, because I had to visit the clubs as well as follow up with missing marks. That was my first time in a public university. You know how that is. There were missing marks, there were missing cuts. It was a lot of pressure, and then also I had my job, so it was quite intense. And I know a lot of ladies think that they cannot do it. It can be done. It just needs that you remove your inner strength that you did not know you had, just needs to come out. I would really love to see so many more ladies on that chain. It would be, I would like to see that chain after 20 years and see the gender role is balanced. There are leaders who reach up to country chair level, and then I don't know where they fall off. I don't know where they go. It's a conversation that I think needs to be had further and deeper. I don't know why people they shy off. And I like thinking about the mind of a man. If there's an opportunity to be had, he will have it. I think the world is more, I don't want to say softer or simpler, or ladies that we are not expected to push forward. That's why there's a lot of conversation about breaking the glass ceiling. Nobody talks about men breaking glass ceilings. It's like the ceiling is just there to be broken. It's like most deaf. But when a woman breaks the glass ceiling, we are all there clapping for her. We are equal citizens. I think that most of us, not even most of us, any woman that has been in leadership just needs to take it to the next level. Any lady that has served at club level just needs to push a little further. It is unfortunate also we have we ever even had a female district governor? The one who's coming after, yes, she will be the first one for the district. PDG Gita was the first one for the other district. Like, women are meticulous. I think we just wish we could just take that to the next, to the next plate. But it can be done. It was done with a lot of factors considered, but it can be done. Do not shy off. Ladies, anyone who's watching, do not shy off from leadership. It can be done.
As the other lady in this panel, I shall take up the challenge. So Karen for DRR.
Yes.
Anyway, on a light note, your question was focused on transition from Rotaract to Rotary or Rotaract to Rotaract. Okay, so I think I'd attribute the reasons to intimidation. Let me give an example. The example you've always been using, Rotary Club of Langata, the infamous. Well, I remember my first few days, I used to sit at the back end at the corner. Just not at the back, at the corner. Not because of anything. When the beauty about Rotary is it brings the best in the different market fields. So what you realize is when you walk into a room, you're like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. So you get so intimidated by that to the point where you don't think you'll fit in. So I remember that was the biggest problem for such a long time, until when you actually get to socialize with these people and you realize, oh my God, they do not bite, they're normal human beings, they actually come to your level when you're talking to them about something. And even when it comes to our professional lives, they're always willing to help as long as we're very proactive. Secondly, I think I'd attribute it to the age cap that was there, that was removed in July 2020. That particular age cap was a bit limiting because, yes, I want to remain in Rotaract. There's that pressure to transition, but I think I want to remain with my friends who are probably younger, who probably just want to have fun for a while, because the previous notion was Rotary is for boring people. I say this slowly, and I tried carefully. And then Rotaract was the fun, vibrant sort of group who travel all the time. And for the longest time, that was it, until this year when we disrupted the chaos, or the Rotary International Council on Legislation disrupted the chaos and decided we're implementing new rules. And these new rules are going to develop Rotaract as an individual program, and we are going to stick to Rotaract. So about the transition thing, I don't see many Rotaractors transitioning to Rotary anytime soon. What I see is growth in Rotaract in terms of the many clubs we will transition, in terms of a Rotary club chartering another Rotary club in terms of sponsorship and the like. And also I see people rallying up members, because the idea is we want to make Rotaract very wholesome to the level where it's lucrative for any person, any young person. And again, let's remember as I conclude that the youth are the difference between what we have today and what we have tomorrow. So Rotarians, even you guys, as you've pulled the onus of this particular situation on us, we also return it to you by telling you guys, assist us, hold our hands, walk this journey. You've been there. The beauty about it is she has been a Rotaractor, you have been a young person before, you know what we're going through despite the technological advancement. So please walk with us this journey. Thank you very much. So I will request Elvis to come and answer the question. He had been allocated. Oh, it's Tito? Okay.
Well, just to correct her, I'm still young. And the question is this Rotaractors become a Rotarian and they've been tasked to form the Rotaract Club of Syokimau, and what message and how do they entice members to come and join in? Tell them, it's now or never. But anyway, you know, from my perspective, I feel it's not enough to sell the meat. Sell the sizzle. Sell how the meat is. And how do you do that? Don't sell Rotaract as come and join Rotaract because we will go for international trips, we will do community projects, we'll do all those things. Just start doing them. Don't tell we'll have all these sherehe. Do them. Let the action that the club is doing, let the things that the club is actually doing be what will attract people to join that club. So my focus is do stuff, plan stuff, do them. As members come in, let them find a vehicle that is already moving, that has all these things that are happening. Because what that does is, even when they join in, they know why they're joining, because they like these aspects of the club, which actually you already thought out and you're doing. But they will know exactly where to fit in, right? So you're having people who are joining in a vehicle that's already moving, and they know which seat to sit in so that they can have the best views of the journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the Q&A. I hope, Mercy, your questions have been answered. You're satisfied? Okay, so we'd like to move on to the next bit of the program. I'd like to invite DG Patrick Oba and DRR Kennedy Gaya to speak to us about Rotary and Rotaract in action, a mindset shift. Karibuni sana.
Thank you so much, June. The conversation is becoming clear that Rotaractors need to take a bold step and show up, especially with the new nature of Rotaract. But even as we come in, one of the biggest or brightest points that we've seen with the virtual setting is RYLA Virtual itself. So probably the DG can tell us. He's very passionate about RYLA because he was actually the first RYLA chair in our district. So let him share a bit on his passion around RYLA and what he believes and envisions that RYLA should achieve.
Thank you very much, Kennedy, and good to see you all, everybody who's on virtual and those who are here. Indeed, RYLA was my first major event that I organized for Rotary in the district. And it came from a time when I had organized RYLA for my local club in Malaysia. And it did so much when I organized it at the sort of a club level that when I was approached to do it at the district level here in Kenya, it was a natural thing for me to do. Another time, RYLA was a training course for leadership. You had a lot of leadership modules. It was a 3-day event, not 1 day. It was a 3-day event, full-time residential, limited to a number of about 50 or 60. And you had professional trainers in different areas of leadership and also within the areas of Rotary leadership. And that is what I still see RYLA as. It's an opportunity for training of Rotary youth leadership in terms of preparing them not only for Rotary leadership, but also for leadership in their places of work and the places where they're working. So for me, it was a no-brainer. It was a place that you actually just get young people, put them in, give them good training, and they can go out and lead in Rotary and otherwise. But Rotary was a focus. And the good thing with that, we actually brought in not only Rotary actors, but we also brought young executives from outside. So you had a blend of 2 sets of people. And that meant you could get the Rotaractors with Rotary and the young executives from the business world, a great blend of RYLA.
Thank you so much. So with this year and this session, we've had a conversation around how do you ensure that work is working for you really well? How do you ensure that financially you're managing your finances really well? And yesterday we talked about relationships, and today we're talking about leadership. So with that vision of RYLA, now that this year we've made a deliberate effort to try and capture that leadership perspective in RYLA, how do you advise the teams that come after us? What kind of RYLA should they have? Hoping that there's a COVID vaccine and it works and we are back to normal.
The COVID vaccine, I think that is there, and it'll take, all that it'll do, it'll take a bit of time for it to actually be spread across the whole world so that we are clear. But I think the RYLAs for the future, I think based on what has happened over the last few days, I think that is right. We need to put together a program that lasts 2 to 3 days, intense, one that brings in professional trainers in terms of leadership, and one that effectively the Rotaractors should actually give us what it is that they need in terms of leadership training. Which areas do they feel they want strengthening in leadership? And if that can be done, if we can spend maybe the next 6 to 8 months just trying to find out what areas Rotaractors require, then you design a 2 to 3 day program that can happen blended, residential, whatever the case may be. But it could also happen in a lot of places. It doesn't have to be in one place. The same thing can be replicated for Mombasa, for Nairobi, for Nakuru, for Addis Ababa, for Wau, for Rumbek, and everybody, and also in Nyeri, so that the Rotaractors don't have to travel very far. It's done in a fairly close area. And you could have the facilitators, experts, speaking from one place, but then you have moderators present on the ground. And that way you can actually have a RYLA that is blended, done on the same days, but in different places. And I see that as a model that can work with the technology that we have now, whereby the experts don't have to be in one particular place. They can be in different places, and they can be there physically or digitally. And I think that would actually probably expose it to, 2, 3, 4, 500 people easily by doing it that way. And I think if we just apply ourselves differently, we can achieve the same impact.
In being unlimited, embracing the chaos and taking up opportunities, one thing that is becoming very important is the matter of cross and reverse mentorship. It's high time that Rotarians and Rotaractors thought that mentorship can be done from Rotaractors to Rotarians and Rotarians to Rotaractors. How do we make this possible?
I've already issued a challenge to a few Rotaractors I've met. And one of the things that we always get is Rotaractors saying we need mentorship in this area, we need mentorship in this area, and it's all about careers in personal development in one direction. But the world is changing, and this embracing chaos, I think, was a great line to put for this one. The digital opportunities that are happening in this world for people like us who are sort of a bit challenged digitally. I'm not necessarily challenged, I'm challenged a bit, but not necessarily serious. But some of us are. And I think the biggest challenge that we have is how do you work with people who are digitally nimble? And Rotaractors are very digitally nimble. And Rotarians don't understand how to deal with that kind of situation, especially the older Rotarians. Could it be a situation whereby Rotaractors develop a module where you come and mentor Rotarians and you make it a point? How do you make the world work for Rotaractors, young people, young executives? Because some of the stuff that we found, and I think now the HR people are beginning to realize it, the younger generation doesn't have a time-bound working time, right? Give me a task and I can do it at 3 a.m. in the morning, which is when my mind is best, right? And I'll do it digitally and I'll send it, right? At other times, somebody may work better at 11 o'clock in the morning or whatever the case may be. So create a different relationship. And that conversation needs to take place so that we, as the older sort of Rotarians who are still fixed in the traditional, mortar and brick building, and you have an 8 to 4 job. The job is 8 to whenever, really. And I think those conversations are the kind of conversations that Rotaractors need to prepare and be prepared to come and basically, jump onto Rotarians and say, this is what we need to mentor you about. And come and mentor us. And I think it will start a different conversation when we just look at the sort of the digital opportunities that are coming through for Rotaractors, and they will need to create a space where their way of working is actually understood by Rotarians.
Growth of knowledge is a process, and one thing that is clear is that when you're doing maize plantation and you're supposed to water maize in a particular time and expect harvest at a particular time, what would happen if you decided to water it twice the number of times you're doing it? At the end of the day, probably your maize will even be worse off. So it means it's a process. And one of the goals and aims that we're looking at is to ensure that we've had a clear conversation about how do we encourage people to become DRRs. So how do we ensure that the future district governor is 40 years old, is the top of the executive, and he or she, yes, and she has a family and he has a family. How do we ensure that is the kind of DG that we get in a few years' time?
I think the changes have already started this year. And it was brought along by, unfortunately, by COVID, actually accelerated it. But when we started off last year with the president-elects, we started meeting digitally. And that was the first sort of introduction into creating a digital space for Rotary across the district. Now, to make digital space work for us, we all need to adapt to technology. And one of the things we're doing in the district this year is creating a digital strategy for the district, which means we're going to create a platform whereby a lot of things can be done digitally, take a lot of these physical requirements out of the way. And once you've done that, it means that the time expectation for a district governor shrinks in terms of the physical movement from A to B. And I'll give you just the experience we've had over the last 3 or 4 months. And Tito has been here with us, and Dixon has been as well. We decided to change the club visits to digital visits. So now you're visiting a club for 2 hours, but you're doing it from the comfort of your laptop. And you do all the, what I call the, all the sort of the boring stuff that is not worth traveling to Maralal to go and talk to them about their plan. That can be done digitally. So we are doing that, and then the club assembly that follows that, where we discuss with the club members about what their plans are. In the old way, sometimes I'd be visiting clubs in April to discuss their plans when the year is almost over. So what we've done this year is all those are being done digitally. And we are just about to complete all the clubs by this time. So it means that the DG who is under 40 doesn't have to travel to do all that. He can prepare time. I mean, this now means that he has to get the time. And this is where working at 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is, you're talking about a paradigm shift. But having done all that by now, it means that the visits that used to take so much longer are taking a short while. The other thing that we've done this year as well is instead of visiting every club individually, I've begun to visit what I call clusters. So you're visiting 4 clubs together. And in Western Kenya last week, we had a very good time because I was able to visit all the clubs in Western Kenya and in Rift Valley between a Wednesday and a Sunday. Now that was a total of something like about 27 clubs, 28 clubs done in that period of time. Now in the old system, those 27 clubs, the visits would have actually taken about 40 days. So it's been done in 6 days. So if you replicate that across the whole district, I will have finished all those visits by December, if everything had been working, including Ethiopia. So it means that under 40 DG, I've managed to restrict it to 6 months. But if he wants to spread it across the whole of the 1 year, it means he doesn't have to create the amount of time that it took. So the balance in terms of work-life balance, Rotary life balance, etc., begins to become an achievable thing. So it's possible, and it will happen.
When we speak about a shift in mindset, it's very clear that over the RYLA period, we've had a conversation about what do you do as an individual, what do you do as a club. Today we are speaking about what are we doing as a district to make sure that that is viable for everyone. But for many Rotarians and Rotaractors, that is the cap for it all, because we don't think about Rotary leadership beyond our district. And one thing that has, in the last 2 years, Rotary International has done so well in terms of changing the opportunities for Rotarians and Rotaractors to lead beyond their district. And one of the biggest cap was that some of the positions at zonal level required that you had to become a PDG before you serve in those zone positions. So with that soon coming off, what opportunities do you see for Rotarians, young Rotarians, senior Rotarians, and even for Rotaractors in serving beyond their districts?
What we're already doing, let's just start at the district level. Some of my district officers, the district executive team, are people who have taken a risk on. Previously used to have been a past president or a past AG or whatever it is and so forth to serve at the district level. There are several people at the district who have not even been club presidents. And we've just taken them on because of their professional qualifications and the way they work and the kind of stuff they can offer to the district. That, I think, is going to come down to the district level. Rotary has already started by removing these sort of, you must have done this, you must have done that, and so forth and so on. Yes, you need to know Rotary. That's all it needs. But holding a position in Rotary does not mean that you know Rotary. A past district governor does not necessarily mean the past district governor knows Rotary that well. Okay, it's been the case in the past. But again, a club president does not necessarily know Rotary as well as somebody who has just been inquisitive and knows Rotary because they've been inquisitive, they've gone to my Rotary, they've learned about Rotary, and they've been active. But they just haven't taken the time to be a president. But that person can be very useful at the district because of the skills they bring in. And in fact, I'll give an example. He was here earlier on, Dixon. Dixon has not had he's not been a club president, he's not been an assistant governor, but he is serving at the district level. Right? So I think the changes are going to happen. And as we then identify talent in the district, we should be able to just expose them to the region, to RYLA International, and they should be able to go up. But we need to make it possible at the district, first of all, to modify this requirement that you need to have done this, need to have done that, in order to take up, and it's just forcing people to go up that ladder, right? And that ladder, if you wait for it, you probably have to be 50 by the time you get to you get to a district position, which is not right. Yeah. So we're going to make the changes.
So as we wind up, within our guests, especially on Facebook and on YouTube, I saw a few colleagues DRRs serving in different districts across Africa. And one important news that we are sharing very soon is that we are forming Rotaract Africa, and Zone 22 is now all African. So how do we ensure that we give more voice to our zone and our region at Rotary international level?
The answer is very simple: grow, grow, grow. The reality in Rotary is that to have a voice and have a constant voice at the highest points in Rotary, you need to be significant. You need to have a significant population in Rotary. Our drive for growth of membership in Africa, and that's why we are pushing the district and talking about 50% growth every year, is that if we all do that in Africa, we will have a sizable population of Rotarians in Africa, sizable enough to be able to say we will always have a Rotary director from Africa. At the moment, we are working between Zone 20 and 22. We are always having to rotate, in fact, over several zones, because we are not enough. If we grow Rotary, and Rotaract, I think, will be exactly the same. You have to just grow our numbers so we're a significant voice within the overall population of Rotary in the world. And that's as simple as that. So let's just work and grow our clubs. Let's plant more seeds for clubs. Let's grow more clubs, grow the clubs that are there, increase their membership, and we'll get there. And our target, as we talk about as district governors in Africa, we are targeting to grow 50%, 50%, 50% every year. Means that within about 3 to 4 years, we will have our own district. We'll be able to take a Rotary director every time they require one from Africa. And the more we grow, the more we'll have more at the Rotary International.
I'm just about to open up the audience to bring in questions, whether to the DRR or to the DG. But my final question to you, DG. A clear conversation is that not as many Rotaractors as we want are moving into Rotary. And even in Rotary itself, not as many Rotarians are encouraging their young ones to join Rotaract. How do we make this possible?
You know, the issue of pushing Rotaractors to join Rotary, I've got a mixed feeling about that. What has happened, and I think this is really the message we should be turning around, Rotaract has got its own vibe, its own way of working, and the way that attracts people to stay in Rotaract. Now, by saying at the age of 30, you don't leave Rotaract and you have to move on, you may still want to be a Rotaractor. You may still want to have that freedom, that vibe of working that way. Rotaract has got to make has got to make itself attractive to the Rotaractor who is ready to move from Rotaract to Rotary. We shouldn't go and grab Kennedy and say, now it's, you've done everything else and you've been a DRR. Now it's your time to come to Rotary. No. You need to be in a position in your own life, in your own progression, that says, I think now I need to move from Rotaract because Rotary is a relevant place that I need to be in. Because Rotary has its attractions. Rotaract has its attractions. And I think all we should do is to talk a lot more about what are the attractions in Rotary that the Rotaractor should be able to be looking forward to. Right? And it may be that that opportunity that you see in Rotary may come when you're 35, when you're 40. And so this removal of the maximum age in Rotaract means that it now creates a kind of an overlap that you find when you really want to leave Rotaract to go into Rotary is when you are ready for it. And it doesn't mean you have to be 30 plus. You could even be 25. And the situation in Rotary is what you want to be in. And you shift. So I think that's really the conversation we should be having, is to create an understanding of what Rotary's attraction would be to a Rotaractor. And that is what we should be coming to talk to Rotaract about. Not to be coming to say we are encouraging Rotaractors to shift to Rotary, as a wholesale thing. Because it's an individual thing, and some people may not be financially able, some people may not be ready mentally to go there, some people may be looking for something different that they can't find in Rotary, so they stay in Rotaract. So I think let's have a different conversation around that shift, and it should be one that where it's a mutual attraction. And that's, I think, where we should be going to.
And speaking of conversations around Rotaract transition, how do we ensure that there is Interact-Rotaract transition?
Interact-Rotaract is a little bit more, I have to study that one, I haven't looked at it. But I think, again, as people are as people are in Interact, who starts Interact clubs? That's already, you've already got a huge gap in between. Why can't Rotaract clubs start Interact clubs? At the end of the day, especially now that Rotaract has become a kind of club within Rotary International. It means that everything that a traditional Rotary club does, a Rotaract club can do. So why doesn't Rotaract basically work with Interact? And you then, the interactors, see what it is that they can benefit by coming into Rotaract. I think that's the conversation we should be having, right? That Rotaractors understanding, Rotarians understanding interactors, that's a bit of a, it's a bit of a stretch. I think we should actually change that conversation, really. And I think Interact should be a joint activity between Rotaract and Rotary. We should be chartering Interact clubs together. And by doing that, it actually makes it easier for interactors to then understand how they can shift upwards in the future.
Okay. Now we'll move to the audience to get a few questions from the audience. And George.
Oh, wow. That was immediate. Wow, my question just disappeared for a few seconds. Please let me refresh. I had it immediately. Just give me a sec.
It's okay.
Okay, I have a question to both of you. With the removal of the age cap of Rotaract, does it mean that, because I know there's a consolidated move for the DRR and the DG to work together unanimously, does that mean going forward you're going to continue with this system in place, or what will happen now? Because now there's the independence you have, but there's the move by District 922 to work together.
I think if I go first, this is a question that many have asked in terms of how Rotary International envisions Rotaract and Rotary leadership. Key thing is that from the word go, we are one. That is why it's very evident that the kind of conversations we have with the DG, that, and our hope is that that leadership can be at the same level, so that we don't need to have DRR moving two left and the DG moving two right. They need to come in together. So a personal opinion is that let us encourage more district governors and more district Rotaract representatives to work together, because you can see it working in our district, but clearly it's not the same in every other district across Africa, in Europe, and even in the Americas. It's important that this becomes a conversation that from the word go, from the planning stage. DG and I started having conversations as soon as I was elected. And these are conversations that are now bearing fruits in this year. So we need to ensure that that structure remains intact, and ensure that even the DRR himself, remember we've been talking about mentorship, and there are things that DG is clueless on. And I hope that I can be able to support him on that. And clearly, there are things that I don't even know that exist, and DG has experience on. So that becomes also an opportunity for me to get mentorship, and for DG to get mentorship. So that is the way we need to see it, rather than looking at it as a case where we need to be parting ways. Yeah. DG.
I think the key thing here is that Rotaract is a large community. It's a large specific community within the Rotary world. And that large specific community must retain its identity. It cannot become part of the district. It just becomes a partner, right? So what we're doing is we're encouraging that the leadership of Rotaract just mirrors the leadership of Rotary, but does not become part of the Rotary leadership. So when we invite Kennedy to sit into the executive committee, he sits there as a Rotaractor. He doesn't sit there as anything else. And he comes in and he brings his Rotaract knowledge to the place. But there's also things that Rotaract needs in terms of support. That is discussed there. And then whatever support is required, he's given. Right? But he's not going to be converted to a Rotarian. That's not my objective. My objective is to support him right now. The day he wants to become a Rotarian, that is his business. And the whole of the leadership of Rotaract has got to stay as the leadership of Rotaract. But Rotary has got a role to open up its doors, that any Rotaract leader can come in if they need to sit in Rotary to learn anything. But there are also areas where certain synergies can be obtained by doing things jointly. But those have got to be discussed, understood, and the objectives set very clearly, so that at the end of the day, we all know why Rotary and Rotaract are working together. But it should not be that as you do that when you sort of, you just keep grabbing Rotaract and bring it into Rotary. No. I think Rotaract has got its own unique position in the district, and that has to stay. Because if we change it, then we're going to lose a lot of the people who are in that transition period. And I think just as we talked about in the Interact into Rotaract and then into Rotary, we really need to make that work across. Currently, it's Interact run by Rotary, Rotaract run by Rotary. That wasn't the right thing. I always believed, and even up to now, I believe that the Interact and Rotaract should just be a continuum that allows somebody to grow in the Rotary world from the time they're in primary school, into secondary school, into university, into working early, and then move on.
Thank you.
George?
Yes, questions came back. I've got two. The first one is, I hope I'm not too ignorant on this, but is it possible, because as Rotary International enables Rotaractors to apply for grants from an RI level, is it currently possible for a Rotaract club to receive a grant from the district? And is it something that could happen, because it would be a great, it would provide even more and or closer opportunities to serve even better? And then my second question is from our emails on RYLA, and DG, you made it quite clear that RYLA is a Rotary program, and while that might have been the origin, and that we'd like it to stay that way, I really would. It has been the reality that over the last few RYLAs, quite a few RYLAs, a Rotarian has been there to head RYLA, but the execution of RYLA has been done by Rotaractors. And it seemed a little redundant to have both. Is Rotary in the district going to change its approach to become a lot more intentional about RYLA, so that then it makes sense to have a Rotarian as a RYLA chair?
I think let me answer the last one first. I think what you saw this year is exactly that. I mean, we talked with Kennedy.
Yes.
We talked about changing RYLA and having a different view. That view came from Rotary. But the execution of RYLA came from a combination of somebody from Rotary and somebody from RYLA, from Rotaract, and became a joint implementation, right? I think there's a lot more maturity now about RYLA. RYLA, I think, went away completely from its original intention. For a long time, RYLA was a party, right? And I think it needs to come back to being really that with a party. The party shouldn't disappear, right? The party should be there. There should be a celebration of RYLA and everything else, but there needs to be that intense period of training. And I think once you bring that back, how it is run and all the rest of it for me is neither here nor there. You need, Rotary may come in and bring resources in terms of creating RYLA. As I was telling Kennedy before, the way RYLA used to run, we used to have 50% of the people there being sponsored by Rotarians as young people, as young executives. It was a cheap, not a cheap, but it was a cost-effective way of training. Yeah, I mean, at that time, that was a word that was being used. Now people are sensitive to that. But it was a cost-effective way of training young executives in the businesses that Rotarians had. So when you kept the cost at a reasonable level, they could actually pay. But that reasonable level was more than the cost of one person coming to that RYLA. So it then subsidized the Rotaractors, so that the clubs paid less to sponsor a Rotaractor compared to when I, as Patrick Obatha, was taking some of my employees to RYLA, I would pay, say, 50,000 shillings. But the real cost was probably about 30,000. The other 20,000 actually went to subsidize the Rotaractors who come in, who didn't have that. So it worked. And I think we really still need to have that conversation about how can we make it cost effective, how can we obtain the resources, and how can it work together. It needs to be relevant to the Rotaractors. But I think the experience of Rotary in terms of organizing, getting the resources brought together with that, I think will make it really, I think, a win-win in the future. And the other one, now I'll go back also. The grants. Grants should be possible. At the district level, I think we made the decision, if a Rotary club wants to apply for, as part of the district grant, we can do it. Yeah, and then but the key thing is we're doing that as part of training Rotary clubs to learn how to apply and work with grants, so that when it becomes open next year for Rotary clubs to apply for global grants, at least you've gone through the process, because the district grant application process is almost the same as a global grant application process.
Charles?
Okay.
But I think I can probably develop the conversation a bit further and ask you, Kennedy, having completely reimagined how RYLA has been and with the input of technology, and we've seen how much more effective the sessions have been, is there a chance or is there an opportunity to incorporate the same even in future RYLAs when Corona won't be a problem? And how would that be incorporated into the normal setup that we have?
Many will not believe me if I say this, but last year we were thinking of taking RYLA to Diani. So we should have had RYLA in Diani in September, were it not for COVID-19. And many will not believe when I say that having seen and witnessed what we've done in the last week, I would prefer these a million times. I'd rather miss the white sands in Diani and get quality at the end of the day. Because over the last 3 days, the feedback we are getting from our members is that this is RYLA like never before. This is something different, and this is something engaging and really well done. And all credit goes to June. June has really done a good job in ensuring that we are rallying up this and making it possible today. And the kind of conversation even that we're having with the DG today, and having access to as many Rotaractors as possible, and having this content available to Rotaractors and Rotarians even beyond today, means that this becomes a repository of knowledge. And we need to keep it that way. How do we ensure that we then in the future, so that we don't limit it to just being virtual? How do we ensure that we make it blended? Because DG will tell you that even for DCA, we are thinking about making it blended, so that you can be at the comfort of your home in Nairobi, while others will be enjoying themselves in Nanyuki, and you also are part of that conversation and are part of that that growth. But we need to go back, as DG has mentioned time above numbers, we need to go back and look at what is the principle behind RYLA. Because my next question, I actually want to throw it to DG. What I can say is that the equal level of RYLA in Rotaract is Rotary Leadership Institutes in Rotary itself. So how are you able to make sure that RYLA and RLI are able to consistently build the right professionals, are consistently mentor the right people, and consistently make us a different lot of people? Yes, thank you.
I think at the end of the day, once, and Dixon is here, he's working on RLI, once that is done, RYLA basically gets subsumed into RLI, because it's the same thing. It's a leadership institute, you have different levels. And can you just imagine, instead of just having a RYLA, which used to be, the origin of RYLA was youth camps during summer. That's where it came from, yeah? But with the evolution now of time, RYLA can become part of RLI. It just becomes subsumed into RLI. And all you do is find, as Rotaractors, you can also take up those modules. And it's leadership training at the end of the day. I don't see why that cannot happen, instead of having two things. So certainly, yes, Kennedy, I think that's a good question, and I think there's a good opportunity to just have one source of resources that can train both Rotaract and Rotary, instead of separating it. Because now, at the end of the day, we are now Rotaract is a type of club within Rotary. So we should just share those resources, make it possible. I see RYLA becoming, I think in this district, if it works, RYLA will become extinct as a concept, and we just have RLI, and that is it, right? And on the issue of of this getting together, I don't see, Kennedy, why there's no reason why you can have these caucuses in different places, right? They can have the content can be delivered from here. People can be together. You can have a resource person now doing a kind of breakouts, whatever it is, locally, whereas the core material is delivered from here, right? And then people just have their stuff, and they get together in the evening. If they want to go and enjoy it, they can do it. But everything is run from a coordinated central place in terms of like what has happened now, in terms of delivery of the core material. But people can gather together. I think that was when you guys started discussing it. That was where it was being discussed, that you could actually have all these sort of different places, people meeting. But yeah, so it's possible. But I think it just leaves it, the opportunity that has happened here just opens up a lot of new corridors, new avenues of making RYLA accessible, interesting, integrated, fun, whatever it is. Yeah.
Just to add on to that, we need to get to a point where RYLA the event or RLI the event at the end of the day becomes a culmination of something that we've done.
Yeah.
I think we need to think about making RYLA more of a curriculum. How do we ensure that this is something continuous? That leadership, just like Rome, cannot be built in a day. So we need to ensure that, how do we ensure that from the word go, as the Rotary year begins in July, then we have a program that is continuously moving and continuously checked upon, so that our members are being challenged in terms of their leadership scope. And then when we get to, for example, if it's November, and we now have a sit-in RYLA or a virtual RYLA session within a few days, then it's now picking up pieces of what we've done in the last 6 months. It needs to become a continuous conversation rather than just an event, so that then the leadership will now trickle down onto our members. We'll see more females taking opportunity to become DRRs. We'll see more clubs coming in for DRR, so there's not just about a conversation of a few clubs. And the same moves into Rotary also. We see younger people expressing their opportunities to become the district governor, taking a challenge like the DJ has mentioned about Dixon, coming up from being a member of his club and picking up district leadership. How do we ensure that that conversation is something that we don't live in this Rotary year, but then grows into perpetuity? Yeah. Okay. So
have your troika.
We have our troika.
The troika is a key thing.
Yeah.
And that troika has got to be active, but not just a troika. Yeah. I think the key thing that we've done is that the district executive is also part of the conversation. So Tito, Dixon, they all know exactly what is going on. So if I drop dead today, things will continue. They're not going to end tomorrow. Yeah. And a lot of the people who are serving in the following year are already working with the current team, right? And some of them are actually within the current team anyway. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that just that continuity, the continuity within Rotary and Rotracts is what we need.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to add on a point, that make it, rather than a single-time event, RYLA as a single-time event, let it be a progressive, like quarterly, you have something that's building up, and then have for country inclusivity, because each country should feel that it has representation. Let each country be tasked to handle a particular aspect, and you beam it virtually. Yes, so that, for example, Ethiopia can handle a theme, 1 or 2 particular themes. Southern Sudan can handle 1 or 2 particular themes. Kenya can handle, so that it's all inclusive, and you'll have richness of content from the diverse experiences, because they're unique country-specific issues. For example, in Southern Sudan, the issue of peace and conflict resolution is such a huge issue, which it may not appear to here. So we need to enrich RYLA also by bringing in those country-specific issues.
Yeah, definitely. So as we wind up, I want to invite the DG to give us his message to Rotaractors and his message to Rotarians. How do we make leadership development deliberate?
I think the message to the Rotaractors and the Rotarians is exactly the same. I think we need to create a place where we can have a meeting of minds on a regular basis. And that is in all aspects, at the club levels. If a club has got 3 or 4 Rotaract clubs that they used to have as their project from the previous times, which are now independent, working, whatever, they need to build an ecosystem of clubs that they work together with. And when you're doing fundraising, you work fundraise together. When you're doing projects, you do projects together. Whatever. We need to get that working so that we upskill Rotaract, but also at the same time as Rotarians, we understand Rotaractors. And we are then able to work much better together. Because there is no way a Rotaract club will become a Rotary club until they shift consciously to become a Rotary club. But a Rotaract club and a Rotary club can work together and achieve a lot more than if they work individually. And even as we're doing clusters and we've got zones in Rotary, there's no reason why, if there are 3 clubs in a zone, they can't bring all their Rotary clubs together. And you work on a major theme, a major activity. If you're doing fundraising, do it together, 3 or 4 clubs. And I think it would work a lot better by getting this team together, getting the Rotary clubs, the Rotary clubs to regularly convene. I've just come from chartering a club, a Rotary club, but all the Rotary club presidents who are there are part of the cluster where that club is going to be present, were present at this charter ceremony by design. They all agreed they're going to support each other. So I think the same thing with the Rotary clubs and Rotary. We need to sort of create this regular assembly of leadership, regular assembly of membership, regular events, joint events that happen that will cement the growth of Rotaract. And I think also the understanding between Rotaractors, the space Rotaractors are sitting in and the space Rotary is sitting in. And that understanding of the space between the two will create for that seamless transition. And for me, that is a key thing. Create a full understanding of one by the other, and then the transition is seamless both ways. And there's no reason why, if there's a Rotarian who wants to be a Rotaractor at 50, they can be, because that's the space they want to be in, right? Yeah, it's not about the money, it's not about anything else, it's just that I feel comfortable being in the Rotaract. And I think I talked about one particular, I think where I made it as a joke. I said, as a Rotaractor, I don't mind jumping into a matatu and going somewhere. But as a Rotarian, I will hire the matatu and go with it. You know, that's the difference, right? I can just walk into a matatu and go. Yeah, I don't have that inhibition. But a Rotaractor wants a space for themselves. A Rotarian wants a space, so they will hire the matatu and go. Yeah? And we need to understand and be able to sort of say, fine, if we're working together, right? Let's all go in the matatu. I'll hire it, we'll all go together, as the case may be. So that for me is really where the conversation we need to have and get there eventually.
So it's about embracing chaos, being unlimited, and this is just the beginning. Thank you so much for joining this session. I'll now hand it over to June and Charles to wind it up. Thank you.
I'm still on that matatu.
Yeah, it shocked a few people when I said it.
That illustration has really hit home. I'm here to give a vote of thanks as you're coming to an end of this beautiful, beautiful session. I'd like to start with the panel session that we had earlier. I'd like to thank Rotarian Tito, Rotarian Jockey, Rotarian Dixon, Rotaractor Karen, and Rotaractor Elvis for that amazing session. I'll say this for sure. When I was joining Rotaract, I thought that I would just be that person in the corner. And I was that person in the corner for a while, until one day I was told, you're president next year. And I ran out of the room, literally. And even when DRR Gaya asked me to become chair for RYLA, again, I ran out of the room. And he had to run after me, but he saw something in me that I did not see in myself at the time. And honestly, Rotaract has been that kind of experience. Someone just pulls you up from your comfort zone and tells you, you can do this, and you actually do it. So thank you so much to the panelists for enlightening, especially guys that are just in that zone of wanting to join Rotaract. You come in with all these expectations to have fun, but there's something you can actually get from this organization. So thank you so much. I'd like to thank DG Patrick and DRR Kennedy for providing the talk on mindset shift, and even for providing leadership for the district at a time of chaos. I don't know about you guys, but the shift has been seamless for me. It felt like now that we are doing online sessions, it's just another Rotaract or Rotary meeting, and I can just imagine the number of meetings that you have sat in and the number of proposals that you have made just to make Rotaractors and Rotarians feel like we can still meet, we can still handle projects, and we can still do as much as we could have if we were not stuck at home, right? And lastly, I'd like to thank the RYLA team. We had a very strong team that we call the firefighters. These are the people that came to, extinguish the fire when we thought that RYLA is now going to be virtual, and we had these big plans of going to Diani. We had picked out the themes, and the firefighters really came through. I'd like to thank the digital marketing team, because it is because of you that RYLA has now reached a point where anyone, you don't have to be in Nairobi, you don't have to go down to the coast to experience RYLA, and I'd just like to thank those people. I'd like to remember Rotarian Dixon. I remember we had a very long talk with Rotarian Dixon, and I was telling him this thing can't happen. To put it in simple terms, RYLA Virtual is going to be impossible. And Rotarian Dixon asked me, why? Why can't you even meet even in Diani in 2 months? I told him, no, it cannot happen. And he gave me the concept of just trying to pull together all these individuals that can then make this possible. Darren, thank you so much. Lastly, I'd like to thank me, as Snoop Dogg said, for believing in me. It has been a journey. Thank you to the audience as well for making this a lively session. Asanteni sana. I'd like to call Country Chair Charles to please wind up. For sure.
Thank you, June, for that. I have been tasked with delivering the final roll call, and I almost ran out of the room. So I'll take this opportunity to thank all of you for attending this session, and I will recognize the clubs present. So I think we will all stand and place our right hands across our chests. It's been a while since I did this. So, in conjunction with the Rotary clubs of Muthaiga, Langata, Nairobi East, Madaraka, I haven't missed out on any, right? Okay. And the Rotaract clubs of Nairobi Parklands, Eldoret, Nairobi East, Nairobi Central, Langata, the University of Nairobi. I give you Rotary and Hurlingham. Yes, and Hurlingham. I give you Rotary and Rotaract the world over. Rotary and Rotaract the world over. Thank you very much. Yeah, I guess we can. Tito can go get his tea now.
Very good. Well done, guys. This was good.